Welcome, everybody, to episode 9 of Blueprint for Closers. My name is Rob Nixon. I'm here with my co-host, Dominic Ciccarelli, and today we are joined by Joseph Biondolillo of Biond Financial, who is an expert in financial services. So thank you for being here, Joe.
Thanks. Thank you, Rob. Thanks, Dom. Thanks for having me, guys.
We've been doing business a long time together. We thought it was important for you to come here and maybe share some of your strategies in investing. We do know that you do invest in real estate. Tell us a little bit about how you got into finance and your pathway to starting your career.
And a little bit about what you do, just backing up, even just so people know.
Sure. So I guess I'll start with how I started, right? So in 1998, while I was in college, I began working on Wall Street in a brokerage firm, traditional stock brokerage back then. And that was my career path. I did that for north of 12 years. I would say after I was 3 or 4 years in, I completed college. I continued to work in the brokerage business. And what I quickly realized is that that's not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, right? What the future looked like, I had no idea. So I began investing into other things, other businesses, continuing to run the brokerage business, knowing that at some point in time, there'd be an exit or a transition into sort of the next phase. Fast forward to 2010, I wound up meeting somebody to do some business with, trying to do some business with me. And in learning what this individual did, I was enamored by some of the financial strategies that he was sharing with me to help me for my own personal planning. I reflected on that conversation. You know, when you have those moments in your life where it's like, wow, something changed?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm curious to see what you knew you didn't like in the brokerage as well.
So I'll come back to that. So this individual opened my eyes up to a lot of things. And part of the things that he opened my eyes up to were that a lot of the things I was doing on my personal balance sheet that I didn't talk to anybody about were the things he was recommending to his clients. I was doing it by default. He was doing it by design. Okay. When I realized how to transition and how to make the segue from one business into the other, within a matter of 2 years, that business no longer existed. And I started Biond Financial, which as it currently operates today, and we've grown ever since. To circle back to your question, what I didn't like about the brokerage business, it was transactional. It was product driven. It was basically, what have you done for me lately? Mm-hmm. You can be the hero, you can be the villain. And you wear the same clothes every day. You're not trying to be a villain. You could be a hero, and vice versa. So my outlook wasn't something that I would have been proud to do for the next 20 or 30 years. And I was looking for that next thing. And what do they say? It hits you when you're not expecting it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
And it just so happened that business was changing so much and going super digital and everything. So it also probably worked out really well for you too.
No doubt. There was technological change. There was compliance change. A lot of things that we have to worry about in every single business.
Now, talk to me about how you got into real estate, because I know I want to hear more about Biond Financial, but clearly at some point there was a direction pointing you towards real estate, and what made you even diversify even more and get into real estate? You know,
the main reason I started real estate is to be frank, it goes back to sort of how I grew up. My dad was a New York City sanitation worker. When I started working on Wall Street, my family was telling me my degree from college is in law. My plan was to become an attorney. So when my family found out that I was going to stop that and go into Wall Street, the diversion was not to go into Wall Street, but maybe consider a city job, because there's security. Yeah. There's guaranteed income. You know, my dad would work. They didn't save much, but they didn't have to worry about the future in their minds, because my dad would have a guaranteed income. He'd have money he couldn't outlive vis-a-vis his pension. So I always started to think, like, why do I have to sacrifice my life for a paycheck? And how can I replace that? So in my early 20s, people that I knew that had money, which we didn't know a lot of people that had money, but the few people that had money owned real estate. Again, some by default, some by design, but they owned real estate. And I always liked the idea of saying, okay, if I own this property and somebody pays me rent, that's not something I have to show up at 9 to 5 for, right? And one day when that building's paid, that rent will still come in, and I can operate a business and have some more freedom in my life. And that was really the mindset. Yeah, that's right.
Same background for me, right? My dad was a military guy. My whole family's cops and firemen.
My father's a retired cop.
Right? You're going to be a city worker. It's all the stability. Where, you know, when you become self-employed like we are, there is no pension, right? There is no medical for life. So yes, we're going to grind out whatever prospective profession we're in, but then, what helps you after 65 years old, right? Where are those, cost savings? Yeah, you can save, I guess, right? But, you're batting against inflation and things like that. You need to almost have 2 or 3 jobs whenever you're self-employed.
So I'll tell you a funny story to that. So now let's rewind and then fast forward, right? So my dad retired in 1997, and these are conversations we have with clients. I don't advise clients on real estate. I don't make investment advice on anything, including real estate, but we have general conversations about inflation, how it impacts your money, how money works, right? Those are the conversations we're having with business owners and successful entrepreneurs every single day, just having a good understanding of how money works. So now when my dad retired in 1997, he had a pension. His pension was whatever the number was. And I remember saying, if I bought a 2-family home in the neighborhood where I grew up, that would be 50% of my dad's pension. And if I bought 2 of those 2-family homes, I would then have the equivalent of my dad's pension. Here's what we didn't factor in. That's 25 years ago. Okay. 25 years later, my dad's pension's the same. It hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of those 2-family homes collects more rental income than his pension, and 2 of them doubles his pension.
Yeah.
So inflation is a major wealth eroding component. And if it's not factored into your planning, generally speaking, ultimately what you're planning for could fail.
Yeah. I think it's a perfect segue into what you guys actually do, right? So we understand how you got into finance. You definitely want that rewarding job. You want to be relationship based. You don't want to be so transactional. What does Biond Financial do?
So to sum it up, we provide unconventional financial strategies. What does that mean? When individuals or corporations do planning, it's usually around financial products, right? Retirement has retirement planning products. If you want to send your children to school, there's education products. There's the alphabet soup to financial strategies. Everything has a letter or a number attached to it. And what we start to realize as you peel back the onion is that the financial institutions oftentimes promote what they want individuals to buy. And it's brought out to the public through both the media, through marketing, or their salespeople, advisors, right? Not to say anyone's giving bad advice, but the reality of it is it's very, very, very linear in its mindset. So when we work with individuals, we notice that they have all of this stuff. They don't know why they own things. They don't know how it works. They don't know how it makes sense. They don't know how things work together. They don't know how it's going to turn into what it is that they want in the future for distribution strategies.
And I feel like too, like in the past, people always, it's almost like a doctor. You're being paid to push certain medicines, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people I've met trying to give me advice on how to do things, financially, it's because they have a personal gain in pushing a specific thing.
Right. And we would like to think that most people don't have that agenda. And it's been my experience that most don't. It's more so the communication of making individuals understand what they're looking to accomplish. So that being said, if you focus on a strategy, if you focus on a process, then a financial product that you buy, whatever that product might be, will be secondary to the process because the process is what's leading, right? If you focus on the product and then try to make that fit into your strategy, it's not going to work. So we try to focus on more of a process, which is really designed on inspiring successful people to achieve their goals. And a lot of the work we do is around mindset.
So typically someone will come into your office, explain, hey, this is my financial situation. I want to plan for the future. And then based on that specific situation, you would say, hey, a strategy might be this that's successful for you or something else.
That's exactly right. And we'll look at different things that they're doing and see how we can add value in different elements of their life. We don't do everything. I personally don't handle investments. I'm not doing the whole stock bond mutual fund thing. We're more strategy driven. Our strategies are really designed to provide certainty to people in an uncertain world.
We could talk about a ton of different topics regarding the financial world. Clearly, this podcast is regarding real estate, right? You and I know each other many years. And we've been doing business together, specifically, around life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of tips or strategies can you relate life insurance and real estate to?
Yeah, and if I may, right, because a lot of our topics have been about different ways to buy real estate, right? Whether it's buying and managing different asset classes, whether it's participating in a syndication deal. How do I buy real estate? What about now people have been using self-directed IRAs that we've been hearing a little bit more about. There's always been this thing, if you will, around whole life insurance. Some people it's a very love it, hate it product, right? And I know this is just one product, but it's a very love it, hate it product. I happen to be one that loves it. I think it's a really interesting tool. Tied to what Dom said, how have you seen people, clients, whoever, use that, or yourself?
So, for starters, people make financial decisions typically based on opinions, not necessarily facts. And when you make financial decisions based on opinions, they could be good or bad based on the opinions that you're getting and the information that you're intaking. So what we like to tell people is, look, you should make a decision that you're comfortable with, but you should make that decision based on facts, not necessarily opinions. And if you look at the positives and negatives of every financial instrument, you can then weigh in to see, does that instrument work for what I'm trying to accomplish? I think because I do a lot of research on both spaces for my own personal growth and to be able to share certain information with my clients. I think one of the misnomers with life insurance, specifically as it relates to real estate, is that it's been marketed to, as of recent, as a way to buy real estate. And I think fundamentally that's a flaw. That's using life insurance as a product, no different than somebody might use a 401k for retirement or a 529 for the kids to go to school. It's a product-driven transaction. First and foremost, life insurance should be bought for death benefit, right? I think we don't want to minimize the fact that the permanency of that death benefit that's going to get paid income tax free to your beneficiaries at a point in time that's guaranteed to happen, the question is when, is a tremendous benefit that a life insurance policy offers. That being said, let's shift gears to real estate for a second. Most people like buying real estate because when you start to understand how real estate works, you realize that when you buy a piece of real estate, you invest $1, but you get multiple uses of that dollar. And I'll explain what that means. If you write a check to buy a piece of property, most people who are buying investment real estate utilize debt. So when you buy an asset, you're not paying for 100% of that asset out of your pocket. You're paying for 25 or 30% of that asset. Okay?
That's fair.
So you're getting appreciation, which is one rate of return on the investment that you make. But the appreciation is actually coming on an asset value that's a lot greater than the deposit you actually made, because it's on the full value of the property, not the down payment that you made. You then get depreciation. There's been some tremendous advantages in the tax code over the last few years that will allow you to potentially accelerate depreciation. But even in a general sense, depreciating real property allows you to mitigate taxes, which are what some real estate investors do. A lot of real estate people like the tax advantages of the asset class.
In a previous episode, we spoke about cost segregation and accelerating.
Yeah, and it's a huge wealth creation tool, right? Number 3 is you get cash flow from a piece of property. So if you properly buy real estate, you're doing it because your cost of capital is going to be less than what your gross sales are. It's a business transaction. So you should, if owning the property and managing it properly, have positive cash flow, which, by the way, because of what we said previous, will be more tax efficient because you have not only mortgage interest deduction, but tax benefits through depreciation. Okay. And then the 4th rate of return is principal pay down. So every month you're collecting your rents, notwithstanding the money you're putting into your pocket. As you're paying down that mortgage every single year, you're actually increasing the equity that you have in the property. So you write one check and you're getting 4 uses of $1 versus, say, putting money in a CD where you're getting 1 use of $1 and you're just getting a return, which isn't too bad by the way.
Yeah.
Right
And I'm so tired of hearing that argument the last couple months. All I've been hearing is, "Oh, for that I'll go put it in a CD." Really?
So now let me tell you why I like life insurance and how I think it works very well with real estate. Number 1 is if you buy a piece of property and you have a mortgage on it, right, and something were to happen to you, there's an outstanding liability. The death benefit pays off that liability, or could pay off that liability in the event of a premature death, okay? But I think when we look at what the insurance policy represents is that similar to real estate, you're getting multiple uses of $1 when you buy an insurance policy. So first off, you get an internal return. Over time, when you deposit money into permanent life insurance, specifically whole life insurance, over time it has guaranteed cash value, it has guaranteed growth, okay, and it has the ability to earn dividends, which is in addition to that. So we can consider that equidistant to, say, maybe appreciation, okay? Secondarily, you have another rate of return, which is the eternal rate of return. So in addition to the growth that the cash value accumulates inside of that policy, you have a death benefit, which we talked about. It's an income tax-free benefit. A lot of our clients are similar in age to us, where they're still in the wealth creation phase of life, going to work every day, trying to work hard, put money away. If in the event that you're long-term disabled, there's riders you can put on the policy that will allow the policy to still accumulate as if you were making the deposits without you making your premium deposits. So you're not paying premiums on the policy, and the insurance company pays those premiums through a waiver of premium benefit if you qualify for it. There's a lot of riders that have been added recently where you can add long-term care protection and tie that back to your death benefit, okay? You can annuitize the cash value in the policy or take dividends out of the policy in the future for retirement income to help supplement your retirement income. So those are all benefits in addition to the
death benefit.
To the death benefit, and in addition to the cash that you're accumulating. So we call those two separate returns. You've got internal, which is you pay premiums, you have guaranteed cash value, that money grows. You have eternal, some of the benefits ancillary that we talked about, which are really the strength of the life insurance contract. And then there's the external return. And the external return is completely up to what the client wants to do. Whatever money is available to you inside of a cash value life insurance policy, specifically a whole life insurance policy, there's a provision in your policy that allows you to access in excess of 90% of that at any time vis-a-vis a loan from the insurance company that you don't have to qualify for.
So let me understand this. You have a cash value in the policy.
Correct.
You can go to a bank, and a bank would give you a checkbook for 90% of the cash?
So you can go to a bank, but what I was specifically referring to is the fact that the insurance company itself that you bought the policy for, and that's the key, because let's face it, you could do third-party lending, and we can talk about that, but that's not guaranteed. You know, they can give you a rosy picture and change their mind and get out of that business. If we're only talking about the guarantees that the policy offers, the policy itself, the insurance company says, look, we have guaranteed cash value in this policy over time, and we'll guarantee you, we will lend you at a fixed rate or a variable rate, depending on your policy, a certain percentage of that, no matter what. That is tremendous, especially for the environment that we're currently in. Okay. So there's 3 rates of return. Now that cash value that accumulates actually unlocks ability with other asset classes. So personally, I'll give you a real life example. In 2008, I was still working on Wall Street. Fortunately, through a family friend, I was advised to buy life insurance, and I had a nice whole life insurance policy. I had a young family at the time, so it was important that I had the protection in place. And I was trying in like 04, 05, 06, 07 to build my real estate portfolio. And I don't know if you guys remember back then, but it's like you were chasing deals. It was almost like buying a house in 2020.
Yeah.
Like you'd go to buy something and it was gone.
Yeah.
And you know, like it didn't matter. People were getting loans. The person was not, they didn't have a job, and they got the mortgage, and so it was irrational exuberance. It made no sense. So finally, 2008 happens, and now everybody's scared, and all of a sudden the market totally halted. Nobody wanted to buy real estate anymore, and I second guessed myself. Does it make sense to continue to buy these things that nobody wants? And lo and behold, I owned a property, and across the street from that property, there was a foreclosure, and there was a sign on it, and nobody was buying it. Nobody wanted it. So I called the bank, and we negotiated a deal, and everything worked out perfectly. And I called my loan officer, and we put in an application to put down a mortgage, and he laughed at me. And I said, you know what? Why are you laughing? He's like, you have no tenants. The building had all of its plumbing ripped out of it. Like, you cannot get a mortgage on this property. So I'm like, okay, well then how do I buy it? And he said, the only way to buy this property is by buying it for cash. So you could either write a check from your savings account or borrow from like a hard money person who would charge you exorbitant rates. And I sat back and thought, and you know, oh my God, I'm out of business. I thought I was going to have this phenomenal real estate business, and now I can't even buy the properties. And then I guess one day I woke up and I said, wait a second, I have this insurance policy. So I called my broker at the time, my life insurance agent, and I said, can you do me a favor? Can you cancel the life insurance policy and send me a check? And he said, absolutely, Joe, no problem. He goes, is everything okay? I know you work on Wall Street. Is it the market? Like, what's going on? And I said, no, it's not the market. I'm trying to buy a piece of property. I need the money. Yeah. And the bank won't lend it to me because there's no plumbing in the house. And I just figured it might be a better thing for me to do long-term for my own personal assets. So why don't you sell me a term life insurance policy and send me a check? He goes, I'm happy to do that, but can I give you a suggestion? I said, sure. He said, why don't you take a loan against your policy for the amount of money that you need? What's your long-term plan with the policy? I said, with the real estate. I said, I'm going to fix it up. I'm going to put tenants in there. And then once that's all done, I could refinance it and get some of the money back. He said, so why don't you just take a loan against the policy's cash value, keep your death benefit.
Yeah.
Okay. Pay the loan interest because it's a more efficient thing to do for your policy. Keep making your premium payments since your job's not affected. Buy the property. Fix the property up with the money that you're borrowing from your insurance policy, and then refinance the house when you're done and put the money back to the insurance policy.
Perfect.
So I said, how does that work? So he says, it's as simple as I just explained it to you. I can have the money in your account within 48 hours.
Unbelievable.
And that was like a light bulb. So utilizing the external rate of return of that insurance policy, it could also be detrimental to what you do. Right. So there's always
you got to be super disciplined and
super responsible. This is not a promotion for people to start borrowing against their insurance policies and buying real estate. I don't promote that. I'm just telling you my life experience and what worked for me.
Yeah.
And it's important to know that whether you use the money to send your children to school, you use the money to help fund your retirement, you use the money to start a business, you use the money to keep your business afloat, you use the money to buy real estate, you can use the money inside of your life insurance policy once it has accumulated to do whatever you like.
How long does it typically take for that to accumulate to be substantial enough to use it? Because if I remember correctly, I think mine took like at least 5 years or so.
Rob, that's a great question. And I think it's something that's very misunderstood. And I think people need to really have a good understanding of. Some of the TikTok videos that are kind of out there now and some of the YouTube videos that people do, I think give the illusion that it's a lot faster.
Right, because make no mistake, it's not do it in the following year. You're buying,
No.
Right.
No,
Right.
It takes quite a bit of time to accumulate cash. Now, not only does it take quite a bit of time, it's also relative to what you're contributing to that policy.
True.
If your premium payments are, a small amount of money, you're going to accumulate a relatively small amount of money. If your premium payments are a large amount of money, you're going to accumulate a larger amount of money. There's also riders you can add to your policy, like a paid up additions rider that gives you the ability to overfund the policy and get more cash into the policy, which could make sense within limitations because there could be some tax ramifications by overfunding the policy. So it's a great question that you ask, because if your thought process is I want to start a cash value life insurance policy and use it next year to buy a piece of real estate, that's not the way it works. It's going to take time, but it's one of these things that's a very long-term structure that if you understand how it works, it just becomes a part of your life.
Yeah, listen, I think the idea is you get the policy for the death benefit and then you use these secondary benefits as time goes on. Listen, we talk about it almost every episode. Real estate is just a slow and steady game. You're not going to get rich overnight. Every day just planting seeds, making base hits. And then over the course of your career, you look back 20 years later, you're like, wow, look what I accomplished.
And that's why life insurance works well with assets like that if you're using it integrated with other assets, because the truth is, life insurance is not a get rich quick.
Yeah,
it's not a liquid asset class.
As the cash value accumulates, it's a very liquid asset, but it takes time to accumulate it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant real estate.
Yes,
I meant real estate.
Yes.
Okay. Two other questions. I don't want to talk too much about life insurance. I know you do many other things, but most people that are investing in real estate are small business owners or business owners, right? Entrepreneurs.
Yep.
I know I take advantage in life insurance, in my business, whether it's a buy sell or key man insurance, things like that. Just briefly touch on that. I mean, we could talk for hours.
Sure. So a lot of the work that we do is in the business owner marketplace. We work with entrepreneurs like you. And some of the challenges that they have are things like succession planning. Some of the goals that they have are retirement from a business. Some of the challenges that they have are retaining key people or making sure some of their key people stay with them. Whenever there's an opportunity for us to have something happen in the future, whether it's on the business balance sheet or on the personal balance sheet, that we know could happen or will happen, it's always nice to use a financial instrument that has some level of security, certainty, and guarantees with it to make sure that that is protected. So, for example, as you mentioned, you've got a partner, and if you have a buy-sell agreement, and that's funded with life insurance, there could be multiple reasons that life insurance policy helps with that buy-sell. If one of the partners dies prematurely, it can help buy the other partner out of the business by having a lump sum come into the business tax-free. and then buying the other spouse's partner out,
Right.
okay, to eliminate partnerships. A buy-sell agreement could need liquidity in the event that one of the partners want to retire, right? How do you create that liquidity? By utilizing certain life insurance policies, you could have a future value that's guaranteed to be there that could help with either a lump sum or a full payment to buy somebody out. If you have the right type of life insurance, depending on your circumstances, and it happens to be a permanent policy, those policies, if you leave that business or sell that business, could be redeployed back onto your personal balance sheet and become an asset that your family uses for estate planning and things like that.
Yeah.
So life insurance, again, should never be about the product. It should always be about the solution. And whether it's on the business's balance sheet or the personal balance sheet, we then identify what's the best solution, and it could certainly work in a lot of circumstances.
Interesting.
It really is. I mean,
2020.
so many interesting things there.
Right. Rob and I are talking a lot about, COVID, how a lot of us got through it.
Right.
How was your business during COVID?
So I think it was interesting, right? So we can talk about both businesses. So my real estate business, which again, I have no investors in my real estate business. It's just my family business, right? My wife and I. And when the governor told the tenants that they didn't have to pay rent, it was a very tough day. But I think a lot of people banded together. The banks were wonderful. They helped us get through tough times. The government helped with stimulus in certain instances, which was certainly helpful for whatever it was worth. It was challenging. It was a rude awakening. It was also eye-opening of how I would talk to clients going forward, as far as making sure that you have good quality reserves, making sure that you always have access to capital, never getting too far ahead of yourself because we don't know what's going to happen. On the financial side, with Biond Financial, my world changed.
I'm assuming a lot of people weren't buying life insurance during COVID.
Well, it's interesting. Life
Although people were dying like crazy.
Life insurance sales hit a record in 2020.
Wow.
Because it put life in perspective.
Yeah.
People who were holding off on doing their estate planning wanted to make sure they had a health proxy set up and a power of attorney.
You know
right?
what? I didn't even think about that.
Oh, it was a very good time for business, unfortunately, but it's a tribute to the value that people see in proper planning. For a hot minute, people stopped worrying about chasing rates of return and how to become very wealthy. They worried about protecting their families and making sure that things could succeed in both their business and personal lives if they weren't there. So it created a lot of conversations.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of people weren't even getting a check. They weren't working. So then to wrap their head around now and adding an additional expense to their life.
Well, again, you're talking about a window of time. So from March 15th till say May 1st, nobody was doing business. At least I wasn't.
Yeah.
Right? It was frozen. Once things started to open up and they realized the world wasn't falling apart, people got back to business. Right. Yeah, and there's no doubt that those first 6 weeks, I think probably similar to your business, it was calling clients and friends and just making sure everybody was okay, checking in to see if there's anything you can do. And during that time, making some introductions to estate planning firms so people can get those documents updated. From a business point of view, it was a real challenge for me because, 95% of my business is sitting down at a table like this in one of my offices, having a cup of coffee, maybe over lunch or breakfast. And that's how we do business. It's a very personal business. We get to know our clients well. We know what they're trying to accomplish. We know what their goals are, and we enjoy their company for the most part. And then everything went virtual. So, I mean, you know me pretty well. I just learned how to turn a computer on 3 years ago. So that was a real struggle, a real challenge. And I think one of the things that we missed most was the interaction of just sitting down, having a high five or, a cup of coffee or a beer with somebody.
So anti-Zoom. Like I still hate it. The Zoom, the Teams, all these different.
So it is, but I also think there's a lesson to be learned, and there's a lesson in efficiency. So during COVID, I was able to finish my course completion and get my certificate for a certified exit planning advisor, a CEPA designation. What gave me the ability to do that was that the Exit Planning Institute turned their education system into a virtual learning. I would have never gotten on a plane and gone to Chicago to get the designation. So it gave me the ability to invest into my business through education and get a designation that I found to be important, that I'd be able to transfer to my clients from a wisdom perspective. It also gave me a lot of help. I was in Manhattan once a week pre-COVID. And from where I live in New Jersey, that could be an hour commute to a 2.5 hour commute. And those were brutal days. Part of them were enjoyable and energizing. The other part of them were tough. I don't do that any longer. I'll very rarely go into Manhattan for those type of
Right.
client meetings. And by the way, I learned that my clients that I went to see in the city, they don't want me there. They were running their businesses, busy. We were in a conference room. They were whispering so other people didn't hear what we were talking
Yeah,
about. It was much more comfortable for them to have a conversation. And if somebody lives in Connecticut or Boston, it's just an easier.
Yeah.
So Zoom has actually helped in that capacity.
I hope the answer is no. But during COVID, did you get a bunch of calls that these life insurance policies had to kick in, or?
Thank God, no.
Good.
So, sidebar, totally separate, right? But it just made me think about how all businesses were affected. So I had a client meeting with a plastic surgeon, wildly successful plastic surgeon, and I was talking about just making conversation the same way we are now. How did COVID affect you? COVID-19. He goes, oh, COVID-19. He goes, we call it COVID-20. He goes, but thanks to that and the COVID effect, he goes, our business almost doubled. He said,
Really?
Everybody put on 20 pounds. Everyone saw what they looked like on Zoom. He
Yeah.
goes, so between rhinoplasties, all different, lips, neck,
Right.
everything, his
Face
business
lifts.
doubled. Just a totally separate story I just thought of with Zoom.
How were those first meetings getting back into face-to-face meetings?
Oh, they were interesting. They were interesting. I have
Yeah, everyone put on 20 pounds.
I have a picture of a client. I asked him, "Can I please take a picture of you?" He came in. He sat on the opposite end of my conference table. He had rubber gloves on and a mask. I'm like, you realize I don't have COVID.
Listen, wild times.
How about
man.
those people that still drive with the masks on
Yeah, it's crazy.
by themselves?
Yeah, we probably shouldn't go there.
So I understand that you went out to Rockaway. You had an interesting experience, like one of your first clients after COVID. It's your first in-person meeting.
It was my first. Yeah, it was. This was. I mean, I look back now and laugh. That specific day, that particular day, I was questioning what I was going to do with the rest of my life. So I get introduced to this family, and they were looking for some help with some estate planning. And he said, "Listen, Joe, I don't care about this COVID thing. I only meet face to face, and I'm not leaving Rockaway. And I don't do house calls.
Yeah.
Like that's just not, that's not what I do. Like, so, but I kind of was intrigued. I'm like, I'm so tired of being in my house,
Yeah.
and this guy wants to meet me, so I'm gonna do it. So I booked it towards like the end of the day. I get all dressed up. My wife's like, "Where are you going? You're not allowed out of the house." I said, "No, this gentleman wants me to go to his home. We're going to sit outside."
Doing a
In
house call.
Rockaway.
In Rockaway. But like I was looking forward to the hour and a half drive.
Right.
So I drive out there. I get to his house. He comes out, like, "Hey, what's going on?" He fist pumps me. He's, "Why don't you come in, use the restroom? I'll give you a glass of water and we'll come out and sit on the deck." I said, "Okay, great." So I go inside the house. I use the restroom. I come out. And as I come out, he's like a different person. He's screaming. He's like, "Did you lock the door?" And I'm like, "Oh, what did I get myself into?" So I said, "Yeah, the door was locked." He's like, "Not the bathroom door, the front door." I said, "No, I didn't. I don't know."
No, I didn't lock your door.
He starts screaming, the dog, let's go." He's like rallying me to follow him.
And you're in a suit.
Sports jacket, no tie, shoes that don't have grips on the bottom of them, and a briefcase. And he gets his kids. It's his two boys. They're probably mid-teenage years, and me. And I'm doing a light jog. They're doing a full sprint.
And
down
you still have the briefcase.
Beach something street in Rockaway.
Briefcase still in hand?
I don't even. No, hold on. I'm looking for a dog. I don't even know what the dog looks like. I didn't see the dog. Right. So he's like, "Stay there. I'm gonna get it back in the middle of the street." So now I'm like literally standing in the middle of the street in Rockaway, right? And I remember saying to myself, like, "What am I doing? What am I doing?
What am I doing making house calls post-COVID?
This is what I do for a living." No sooner than that thought leaves my mind, I see this dog, 75 to 80 pounds, do a 90-degree cut, and it's coming straight at me in the middle of the street. And I tell you ever see a movie like Slow Motion?
Yeah.
Behind the dog is the client. And I see him in slow motion sprinting, and I just hear him saying, "Tackle her, tackle her." So
We talking like German Shepherd. What kind of dog we talking?
I'm not really into
You
dogs.
blacked out.
We have a golden doodle. It wasn't that. It was 75 pounds. And there's two things I know. Number one, I had to make this guy look like I was engaged. So I get in a 2-point stance. And I'm in the middle of the street. My briefcase is down. I'm in a 2-point stance. He's yelling, tackle the dog. And all I keep telling myself is, there is no way I'm tackling this dog. So I'm trying to make it look like I'm going to tackle the dog. Luckily, right before the dog got to me, it made another 90-degree angle, went into somebody else's backyard. He stopped running and said, let's go in the house so it'll come back. And I'm like, if you know the
After all
dog
that?
comes back, why were we out here for the last
Yeah.
hour? So that's my COVID
Now
story.
you know why you're not doing house calls.
I do not. I will never do a house call again. Never do a house call
That's
again.
great.
Dogs. I had a terrible dog experience with a showing. Somebody let a dog out on me, and fortunately it was 5 years ago, and I was in much better shape, and I hopped the fence like out of a movie, and fortunately I did, because this dog was going to take a piece of my leg out.
It's unbelievable. Rob and I are big about, personal growth and having, regimented schedules. And, we have pretty habits we like to follow. I know you're a big reader. I read, but not nearly as much as I want to. Tell us a little bit about your daily habits. How do you stay focused? How do you, make sure you meet your goals, things like that?
Sure. Yeah, no. So personal development is something that's very important to me. I feel that an ongoing education for both personal development as well as my business is very important for not only me, but with the people that I work with. I think the only way that I can stay accountable to the things that I'm trying to accomplish for both me and my clients and my family is by being accountable to myself by my schedule, right? So I'm very big into time blocking. I'm very big into having the big activities that are important to me to not only grow as a person, but to move my business forward on my calendar. They're uninterrupted. And equally as important is the time that I block for the time that I spend with the people that I work with. I'm very intentional on the things that I do, including, for example, little things like when I have client meetings, I don't bring my cell phone into the meeting, right? I'm completely present in those meetings. The people that I work with, I feel like I owe that to them, right? And in order for me to really do what's important to them, I need to be fully present. I can't be thinking about other things that I have going on. I try to take that approach to everything that I do, whether it's my exercise, whether it's my reading, whether it's time I spend with my family, wherever I am, I try to be. And I try to put a lot of time and effort into making sure that I'm constantly working on that skill. Now, is it perfect? I don't think anybody is.
Yeah, no.
Right?
That's
But
a difficult one. I struggle on being present. That's a tough one.
there's no doubt. And I think I struggle the most with it on the personal side. I never struggle in a client meeting.
Yeah.
My wife won't like to hear that, but
we were in a meeting about a year or two ago, and we were talking about this exact topic. And I think you said something interesting, that your mind should be where your feet are.
yeah.
And I remember that a lot. Like when I find myself drifting off a little bit, and maybe I'm in a meeting, or maybe I'm talking to my kids, and then I'm worried about my client email I'm supposed to get out or do something like that. Like, no, my time right now is for this. Stay focused on this. It's really hard to stay focused.
Yeah, and it's something. It's like anything else, right? It's a muscle. You have to work that muscle. That muscle has memory. That muscle has elasticity. And then that muscle strengthens, right? So if you don't take the habits to even do the part of strengthening the muscle, you're not going to get too far.
I also recall something you said that I've actually done for clients, where I know you always give the respect of not with using your cell phone during meetings. And I remember you had said this before, that if somebody else pulls out a cell phone, that you'll say, like, do you need a second? Do you need to step out? Or, that's something that I that has registered with me, and I've done many times now.
Yeah, and you know what? It's just a mutual respect. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm
and
giving,
it's a terrible habit. And sometimes I fall
we all do.
myself.
Listen, I'm giving my time, but that client's time is just as important as mine. I understand that. He should be, or she should be, fully present in that meeting, because we want to get the most out of it. We want to be efficient. We don't want them to lose their train of thought. I want them to be focused so I can give them the best of me.
Tell me a typical day. What time you get up?
So my alarm goes off at 5:45 every day.
Gym guy in the morning?
Yeah, I go to the gym in the morning. I have a class that I've been going to 3 days a week. That's at 6:15. So 5:45 gives me time to get there.
Where is it? What is it?
F45. It's like
the Mark Wahlberg thing?
Wahlberg. Yeah.
How is it?
Oh, it's great.
My
I
brother
love it.
does it. He loves it.
Oh, it's awesome. It's like a cult. It's great. Really, really
I've
fun.
never heard of it.
Yeah, it's really good workouts, like functional.
All circuit. It's mostly calisthenics or no?
45 minutes, circuits, weights, depends on the day. It's like one of those crazy
45 minutes?
workouts
Oh,
where you
45.
look crazy. You're jumping on boxes
Yeah.
and,
It's like a CrossFit.
it's a similar without as heavy of weights. So I do that. I have a daily regiment of reading. I started during COVID. I read 15 minutes every morning, time blocked. And that's how I start my day.
When
I
do
don't-
you do that?
I do that. Well, I'll do it when I get home from F45. On the days that I work out from home, I'll do it before my workout with a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I find myself trying to get to the gym by 6:15, back in my place by 7:30.
Yeah.
But then it's the mad dash to get out. By the time you cool down, take your shower, get dressed, maybe have a light breakfast, it's there after 8.
If I'm up, listen, I'm fortunate. My office is 6 minutes from my house. If I'm up at 5:45, I could do my gym regiment, my reading regiment, and be at my desk at 8 o'clock. And I typically don't book meetings before 9. So if I'm at my desk at 8, it gives me some time to prepare my morning, maybe read the newspaper. I try to read the journal every day. Not cover to cover. I just skim it, see what's going on in the world, so I have an idea. And then on the weekends, I'll expand my reading regimen. I'll go deeper into some things. I try to read at night a little bit.
The reading is terrific. I mean, it really is. I mean, I started incorporating like affirmations and stuff a couple months ago too, and I find that to be really helpful. But like the reading, and I usually I don't know if you're a Kindle or hard book guy. I'm a hard book guy.
Same.
And it's just I find reading actually turns my mind on in 1,000 ways. Sometimes I'll read 5 pages of a book and it just actually gets me started at work.
Yeah.
Like now all of a sudden I don't know what it
You
is,
feel
but
energized.
it just clicks what I need to do, and I'm excited to go do it.
One of the things I love about reading is I read a lot of personal development, a lot of autobiographies, a lot of personal stories. And I enjoy talking to people. I thoroughly enjoy conversations. I like learning about people. I'm interested in what other people have to say. You have to ask somebody a lot of questions to get what you want to know out of what they're telling you. Or you can just read a book and they'll tell you everything.
Yeah.
And success leaves secrets. There's a lot of very successful people out there that have accomplished a lot, both personally as well as professionally, that have taken the time to document their story. And, I'm grateful that I get to read them.
I feel like when I read at night, after 10, 15 minutes, I'm just falling asleep.
I feel the same way.
Sure.
No doubt. No doubt.
Any consistent meditation, practice, and gratitude on any type of regular basis?
I wish I can say yes. The research shows that it's got tremendous results. I did try gratitude journal and a morning regimen of meditation during COVID for a short period of time when I had a little bit more time on my hands. I've since gotten away from it. I haven't had great success with it. I understand that you've got to put some more time in to get there, but I unfortunately, it's something that I haven't really mastered.
You know, it's one that I had a coach that recommended is every day after your day is over, write or speak 15 good things that happened that day.
Yeah.
15's hard. If I can get 7 to 10, but I really, really, really try to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I do it when I walk the dog. It's just my thing that when I walk the dog, and it's incredible how it changes any negative outlook on
no
things.
doubt.
Just even, I woke up today.
Yeah.
I had a great conversation with this person. Whatever it may be. The weather was great.
It could be your son.
It could absolutely.
Well, it's
and
like
it
they say
just
you can't.
changes everything.
It's like they say you can't smile and be negative at the same time. If you're
Yes.
feeling very negative, put a big smile on your face.
Absolutely.
It'll change your thought process.
Joe, we can talk for hours, but one thing I do want to touch before we wrap up, we really didn't talk about your real estate strategies.
Sure.
What are you into buying? What have you been successful with? What do you stay away from?
Sure. So my real estate business is very what I consider to be rudimentary. I don't do anything complex. I don't do anything sexy. I just try to buy things that make sense. My best real estate deals, or the things that I try to target, I'm a value-add investor. So I'll start there. I take the Warren Buffett or Benjamin Graham way of investing, and I do that with real estate. Okay. I try to buy something that I could measure what the results will be, and I reverse engineer back into that strategy. So I'll try to buy something for somewhere between 60 to 70 cents on the dollar. I'll try to add value and force that appreciation and force rental increases. So I'll typically buy a property that needs rehab, whether it's new kitchens, new bathrooms, or if it's an office space, it needs to be rehabbed. I add value, thereby increasing the rental income. And that's really my model. I have a model of We're not afraid to use debt, but we use debt very widely. My portfolio has around 55% debt to equity, 55% equity, 45% debt. I try to stay at that threshold. And one of the ways that I stay there is by being very disciplined in my approach of what to buy. And if I'm upside down from a purchase, I'll keep more equity of my own skin in the game. But my traditional strategy is to buy something undervalued, rehab it, refinance it, put permanent debt on it, let it cash flow, pay down the debt. I'm very big on counting the amount of debt that I pay down on an annual basis. I look at that as a wealth creation tool. And then I just continue to look for more deals, and I force myself to not touch what I've already had.
You're not only buying residential, only buying commercial?
No. So again, some people are hyper-focused on one asset class. My portfolio is pretty diverse. I have everything from single tenant, triple net to multifamily buildings and everything in between. It's pretty diverse. If the numbers make sense, it's a model that I'm not afraid to get involved in.
And where are you buying?
I'm one of the few people that still says he buys in the state of New Jersey. I can't get into the buying out of state. It's my own limiting beliefs, I assume. I own stuff in New York and New Jersey, and I like to drive by the properties that I own. I like to, grab a cup of coffee on a Saturday morning and
feel it,
walk in the backyard and see what's going on.
I think there's a value there. I mean, you could certainly argue both sides, but there's a value there for sure.
I had a bad experience. In 2001, 2003, I bought 2 properties in Albany and I rented to college students. And I had a property manager, and the property manager wound up stealing from us, and the property manager we wound up in litigation with, and the property I just had no control, and it was 4 hours away. I couldn't get contractors in there, and I just said to myself, you know what? I've got enough going on that I've got to be very comfortable with the management structure of what I have, and now it's become something that I enjoy do. We self-manage all the properties we have. My wife's involved to a certain extent with that as well. She helps on a lot of the property management stuff. We've got a good infrastructure, a good team. We've got good trades.
It's great,
and we're in a good groove.
All right, beautiful. I think we're good. I appreciate you coming in, man.
Thank you guys for having me.
We could talk on, so many levels, so many different topics. Maybe we'll have you come back.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Yeah,
good luck, and you guys are doing a great job at the show.
This was great. Thank you.
Joe.